Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and since July is Disability Pride Month, I decided I'm going to do a special topic on ableism in spiritual practices and communities. If you follow my channel and follow us on social media, you know this is something I'm very passionate about. I talk about a lot, and I incorporate it into a lot of videos. I may link some of them below. I did start. Apologies, I need to get back to it, an accessibility magic series a couple years ago. So, what I want to talk about here is a few things as it pertains to being a disabled person, and in any context, whether that's physical, whether that's talking about, autism spectrum disorders, mental health issues, anything in that, whether you're living through cancer treatments, whether you were injured in a car accident, whether you have chronic illnesses and autoimmune and PTSD, this is what I want to talk about because these things are very deeply profound subjects for me. And ones that I often find I end up very frustrated about when navigating a lot of navigating spiritual communities. So when it comes to practices, when it comes to philosophies, when it comes to so many things, you'll hear me talk about this a lot. So without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about what is ableism. And I'm using, this is from Access Living's website. I just wanted to give a quick little TLDR of what exactly is ableism, because this is something that we encounter from stem to stern in every aspect of our life. A lot of it is so deeply ingrained into our culture, into our expressions, into the things we do and say and believe. And we really need to stop. We need to adapt and change because that's what happens when you are disabled. You are constantly adapting and changing to what your body will and will not do on a daily basis. So, without further ado, ableism. It wasn't just a word that's just associated solely with disabled folks in mind. And a lot of times, the world we live in is inherently ableist. So, giving you a personal example, one of the reasons I moved out of Philadelphia was it's an old ass city that does not have accessibility in some places. Like I wasn't vending, but I was attending an event at a building, and the only way to the restrooms was to the second floor up a lot of freaking stairs. And at the time, I have trouble with stairs because of my joint issues, and they were much worse then because I wasn't being treated properly for them. I actually had to walk. I left the event and walked, at least on a flat surface, a few blocks to find a bathroom, a public restroom that I could use, because it was either easier for me to walk on a flat surface than up and, stairs. So when we're talking about like things being ableist, it's not only always in a mean way, it's just like, don't invite me to, if you're having a party and you live in a sixth floor walk up, chances are I'm not going to be able to go because the chances of me being able to do six flights of stairs up and down, I mean, it might take a hot minute, and then I'm going to need to take a hot bath, take a bunch of pain meds, and then probably pass out. So there's things like that it's nobody's fault. It's not your fault for living on a sixth floor walk up. It's just that, I have to modify what I can and cannot do based on the situation. So what is ableism? And when we talk about ableist comments and practices and things in the occult, I want you to really take this definition and the examples of what they give for ableism, and I'm going to talk about how this pertains to the occult spiritual world. So, on the website Access Living, ableism is the discrimination of and social prejudice against people with disabilities based on the belief that typical abilities are superior. At its heart, ableism is rooted in the assumption that disabled people require fixing and defines people by their disability. Same applies to racism and sexism in that ableism classifies groups of people as less than and includes harmful stereotypes, misconceptions, and generalizations of people with disability. So this can be they go on in this article. I'll put the link to it below because it is a longer article, talking about, building, some of this is a little more technical on like buildings without accessible webs or businesses without accessible websites, buildings without braille signs, and not living up to whatever ADA compliance we had before. I don't know what the hell is going on with the US government, so that's probably out the window because sure shit don't care about us. um so the refusal to reply reasonable accommodations, using disability as a punchline or mocking people with disabilities. And there's a very high, just as there was in the early 1900s, there was a very pro-eugenics movement, and we are seeing that again today with Trump's MAGA America. And not for nothing, a lot of the disabled folks are usually the first to go when shit goes sideways. So, or at least pretty high on that list. And because there a lot of disabled folks did die in camps in Germany during World War II. And it's and the thing that I find in this is there's expressions we use, and when you really think about the core, and I've had to stop using some of these myself. If someone doesn't hear you, what are you, deaf? Or, can you go get the free? What are your legs broken? When we think of things, when we say things like that, we don't realize that is very ableist. There's a lot of expressions we use. When I was doing activism a long time, it's almost 10 years ago in Philly, I was speaking to a group of disability activists, all of which who were wheelchair users, and I was talking about like probably something in the context of public speaking, and I almost freaking said paralyzed with fear. Luckily my brain paused and shifted to frozen with fear. But do you know what I would have looked like and felt like saying, oh well, this public speaking thing, and I got on stage and was paralyzed with fear to a group of disability activists in wheelchairs? Like, come on. So I'm using some of my own examples. This is how I teach and how I approach, the videos I make, the content I develop, and just this is me as a person. So, um, so even though we can't always attend things, excluding us also is kind of like, oh, well, we know Jen can't do 6 flights of stairs, so we're just not going to invite her to the party. That kind of thing sucks too. Um, you know, there's so many examples of this, and like some of it, like one of the things, like I have a handicap placard for my car. Every time I park in a handicap spot, because I'm not always using a mobility device, I do have a cane I use sometimes, but I don't need a mobility device. So to the world, I look perfectly able-bodied, but I am not. I may be able to walk into that store and look, fine, well, and dandy, but after doing grocery shopping and having to carry things out, I need to get out of there as fast as possible because my body's starting to not want to work right. And I made a fatal error yesterday in judgment and thinking, oh no, it's raining, I forgot the umbrella. I can just run with the shopping cart to my car in the handicap parking space. I got like one step into the sprint. I'm like, well, this was a bad idea. You can't run. You can, you're just going to be in a lot of pain. So, and when we talk about things like this, there are a lot of ableist microaggressions. Ugh, that's so lame. Using the artard word, or, and even a lot of the ones that always bug me the most is all the ones like, ugh, total psychopath. Oh, you're acting so bipolar. And are you off your meds? That kind of thing, where we're talking about she's such a psycho, or, any of those things like, or well, you don't seem disabled. I get that one a lot. You don't seem disabled. Well, do you want to live in my body? Because I'll gladly trade. So now that I've given a little bit of an introduction as to what ableism is, and that is just a very brief, TLDR. Why am I talking about this? Why do I talk about ableism? Well, hi, I'm Jennifer. If you don't know me and this is the first time watching the channel, I own and create the products for Belladonna's Botanicals, and we are a disability-owned business. For those that don't know me, I am disabled with chronic pain and joint issues, autoimmune disease. I have psoriatic arthritis. I'm on the autism. I've got the autism ADHD combo platter, some C-PTSD, and probably 10 other things that I can't remember at this because the list is too long. And while I can no longer do a traditional day job, running Belladonna's Botanicals has been a dream come true for me. I love what I do, even though it can be challenging at times to keep up with demand, as my body and health require a lot of constant maintenance, appointments, diagnostics, minor surgical procedures, occasional not so minor ones, injections, medications, etc. The thing is, no one thinks they're going to become disabled. I certainly didn't expect it to happen when I was in my 40s. And it is a challenge to come to terms with it, to come to terms with the things that I can no longer do, and to constantly change and adapt along the way. So, what I'm talking about here is because I can guarantee you I am not the only disabled occultist, which, or spiritual person, wellness person, wherever you fall on that spectrum. Sorry, Corey wants to say hi. Oh, there you go. Sorry, an official mascot or official mascot? I don't know. So some of the things I got into it the other day on this one, just things that grind my gears, as it were. I'm a little spicy, perimenopausal, extra spicy. Um, Spiritual bypassing is one of the things that will make me literally, I will choose violence without think. I don't that's just the default mode for spiritual bypassing. This was on Threads. So, some spiritual person was like, how did she put it? Well, if you've been to the doctor and they've done tests and they've ruled out everything and stuff like that, well, clearly it's a spiritual region that you're still in pain and agony. And, so this means you're being cursed or hexed or something. I'm like, seriously? Seriously? So I said something about it on my threads, and then she comes, well, that's just your story. I'm like, and block. I don't deal with this shit at all. No, no. It took me almost 10 years. I am not alone. I have a lot of family and friends where it has taken them almost a decade, if not, and sometimes in some cases longer to get diagnosed. Not a lot of doctors suck. Personally speaking, I thought Penn Medicine was great and that I was getting the Cadillac or Bentley of treatment. Oh my God, fucking sucked, and I hate them all. Worst. But it took me, it's like, well, it's not multiple sclerosis. Well, then what is it? Well, it's not Ehlers-Danlos. Well, what is it? Well, it's not fibromyalgia. Well, what is it? And this was, it took, almost a decade to get to the point of when I moved out of the city because my body couldn't handle living in the city anymore just for logistical reasons. Like everything I do now, I have to plan. Like if I want to fly somewhere, I need to fly first class. That makes flying a lot more expensive, and my ability to travel is hampered. So there's a lot of those things. So when this bitch comes on, like, oh, well, if the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with you, clearly you're being cursed now. Money, please, I'll uncurse you. That's what it came off at. It came off as those people who slide into your DMs going, oh, you have such fascinating energy. I was drawn to you to do a reading for you. But that's what I'm talking about here with spiritual bypassing. I'm gonna get a cricket bat that says that on it because That's one that really grinds my gears, and I see it all the time. Oh, well, you got cancer because your daddy didn't love you enough. Or, it's blaming these things on spiritual stuff because sometimes mundane shit like happens. I have all sorts of aches and pains because I have chronic pain from autoimmune disease, from my joint and my back issues and my joint issues and stuff like that. I guarantee you, I'm not always being cursed because of it. I sat weird and now I can't move correctly. We're back. I know I've probably talked about spiritual bypassing before in other videos. So, this is just a little TLDR about this. Spiritual bypassing can be defined as a tendency to use spiritual ideas and practice to sidestep or avoid facing unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. Rather than working through those hard emotions or confronting unresolved issues, people will simply dismiss them with their spiritual explanations. Let me read that last part to you again. Dismissed with spiritual explanations. Spiritual bypassing is ableist as fuck. And I see it across the boards in so many spiritual communities and wellness communities and all of this. I can cure your autism, with this magical potion I made. The problem is, it's like what happens with that is it gives people such unrealistic expectations of spirituality and magic. The things people have asked me for, like, no, I can't make a potion to body swap you. No, I can't make a potion to switch genders for you. Although if I could, I would probably be very rich right now. I can't turn you into a werewolf. Um, and and that's just a few off the top of my head. I've probably got a laundry list of them by now. So, the spiritual bypassing, when we're talking about trauma, PTSD, mental health issues, and medical conditions, when I see someone spiritual bypassing, it's immediate unfollow, block. I will never support them again. I will not listen to their content. I'm like, until you do better, you're dead to me. Like, I used to follow, I don't mind her, Athena, from the former sage goddess. I don't mind this. She's not terrible. Her following, however, holy crap, if you love white nonsense, spiritual bypassing, and toxic positivity, go join Athena's layer group, because holy shit. I had to leave. I was like, I'm going to start throwing hands at this point because and it was like when I would try to explain something to these people, like I might cover this in some of the videos, but I would try to explain, like, you do realize you're basically victim blaming, and then, and I would get these like hoity-toity responses of like, well, that's your experience and blah blah blah, but uh, you know, and it would be so dismissive and so gaslighting and stuff like that. I'm like, I can be positive all I want, but it's not gonna make my freaking pain go away. It's not gonna make someone's leg grow back. Like, some of this stuff is so egregious. And I will call it out every goddamn time. I don't care who you are, how big your platform is, or whatnot. I will call that shit out every single time I see it. I could make an entire blog of spiritual bypassing nonsense. It's disgusting. And it really, really has to stop. Like, it is so alienating to so many people on so many levels. And and when you call it out, you're attacked like you're being an asshole, like you chopped off the baby's head and shit like that. And what I'm going to say next leads into this spiritual bypassing, and we're going to talk about demonic possession versus medical conditions and medical health. Because that goes hand in hand with, well, darling, the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with you, or little Timmy, so Timmy is clearly possessed by Asmodeus. That's why he's touching his willy all the time, and throwing things. Um, I would say, and S. Conley posted about this recently, I think in her blog or on social media, about like, yeah, sure, there's probably people who've legitimately been possessed by demons. It's not the go-to. It's if I sit here and go, oh my God, my pain is being caused because I'm possessed by demons, and now I'm going to give myself freaking delusions and cause even more problems. So, when you're talking about things like that, look, I am a demonologist. I work with the demonic divine all the time. Even have open possession clauses. I can channel stuff through the demonic, but they're not floating around just willy-nilly being like, "Hi, we're just gonna take over your body now and go do some shit." I mean, if they want to do that and like clean my house, that would be super awesome. Um, you know, just saying. Got some laundry to do. The cat litter needs to be changed. Got another load of dishes. Um, yeah, hit me up if you want to possess me and clean my house while I just kind of take a nap. So, anyways, but when we talk about these things, but that's the danger in it, is that people believe this. People believe they're being cursed when they might have, like, it took me 10 years to figure out what was that I had psoriatic arthritis. I had an autoimmune disease that was causing all these weird issues for me. I still have a lot of issues, even though I've been in treatment for it for over a year now. Stop looking for magical explanations for mundane bullshit. Like, genetically speaking, my brother has rheumatoid, my two of my grandparents had rheumatoid arthritis, and there's a lot of genetic components there. Are we all possessed? Are we all being hexed and whatnot? Probably not, because that is delusional thinking. So, while on the subject matter, I'm gonna pause and take a drink because while on the subject matter, toxic positivity. Let's talk about that one. Um, being positive is not a problem. When anything gets taken to the extremes, that is when it starts to become a problem. Like, I saw this with someone, like, their mother was literally in hospice dying, and like family relatives were saying, like, oh, well, I'll pray for her, so she gets better and stuff like it's like, no, she's literally dying. This is the process of dying. Well, only God knows, or Jesus knows when the time of dying, the miracles, like that kind of toxic possibility. Positive. Someone has a miscarriage. Well, everything happens for a reason. Someone, you can't do, or I'll pray for you. No, please don't. Um, it's fine. I don't need someone to pray for me. I don't need a pep talk that about anything that is going on in my life, medically speaking. If I do need a pep talk, I'll talk to someone whose opinion I actually give a shit about, not randos on the internet who are like, oh, it won't be that. It's not that bad. Or, again, this is all tied into that spiritual bypassing. So, and that's just a couple examples of it. So really be mindful when someone recently that said, let's just say someone had a cancer diagnosis. I I don't always know what to say for those things, and I'm so sorry, or those things don't always hit right. Like, I'm not pitying you for or whomever for being sick. What I do is go, I'm holding space for you. I'm here if you need me. That kind of thing. That's as simple as it needs to be. It's not, it ain't that deep, and it's not that hard. Or the amount of Jesus Christ. This one, I'll give you. And sometimes the toxic positivity goes with unsolicited medical advice. Look, I'm just going to say it this way. Number one, I'm an aromatherapist and herbalist. I also do my traditional medicine things. I have had insomnia, or I have trouble sleeping. I have my entire life. I'm a lifelong insomniac. Um, I have tried numerous medications. I've found one thing that works now. But I have literally tried everything, but you'll always get the, oh, you should have some chamomile tea before bed, or oh, have you tried lavender? Oh, maybe you should. I'm like, I've tried everything just short of medical anesthesia. So, no. Warm milk, chamomile tea, lavender, none of that. That's all. Those are all nice, fine, and well dandy things. Doesn't do shit for me. It's not going to help me fall asleep. My brain doesn't like, for me, the ADHD manifests more inside my brain. Because it is like a full Broadway production up there. I've got multiple internal monologues, I'm time traveling, and it's just a crazy scene up there. So naturally, I can't sleep. Because as soon as I lay down, if I don't take something to literally knock me out, my brain just goes all night, hours, hours. If I went, at 10 p.m., went and laid in bed, I may not fall asleep to 5, 6 o'clock in the morning without taking something to knock me out. So all the warm milk in the world ain't gonna change that. So now that the first couple things here I'm talking about is these are more on sort of more procedural, more conversational, spiritual topics that come up in communities a lot. Um, the one you'll probably see me at times throwing shade at ceremonial magic and the people who are like, it has to be done by the book, by the book. Oh my God, if you don't do this ritual exactly how it's in the book, it's not going to work and you suck. Okay, so I talk about this a lot. Oh, and I'm gonna kind of lump all this together, this part together, um, because it's all kind of interrelated. Um, it has to be done by the book, no substitutions. It has to follow this. It has to be this. It has to be that. No substitutions, all that stuff. So, where's the ableism in that? If by the book, if this ritual says I have to go build a stone circle, I use that example. If I have to go build a 9 foot stone circle, which I can't do because I live in an HOA and I don't actually have a backyard, so have to go borrow someone's backyard. I can't physically do that. You're telling me what you're saying when you're like, it has to absolutely be done this way. There's no substitutions. If you don't have it, you can't do it. It only, these high-end fancy rituals work because there's also economic ableism too. There's not always ableism in the what I can do physically. There's ableism as to what I can do financially. Um, uh, you can use a freaking birthday candle for a candle spell, or you can go out and buy, $100. You can buy 20,000 candles and burn them all at once. I've had the same results from doing big fancy rituals and doing just the bare what I can do in that time, which might be just burning a chime candle or a tea light. Because sometimes people don't have the money to do this. Our ancestors, you didn't have access to the things that we do now. So and I'm not sure why we have to stick to a book that was written 500 years ago or 200 years ago and do it exactly like that. Because sometimes when we look at these traditions, depending on where they come from in the world, we might not have access to the things that they used. Like one of the common herbal ingredients in like road openers is abre camino. It's a specific type of plant. It grows in subtropical regions. I have one place that I can get it from reliably. They usually just maybe two. One usually they usually just rip a branch off the tree and send it to me. Um then I have to dehydrate the leaves and stuff. So, but it's not always available because it grows in tropical climates. So if it's being grown up here, I live in Pennsylvania, and the place I get it's in New York. There's just gonna be times of the year it's not available. So sometimes, you have growing seasons. There's a bad season for something. At least once a year, I can barely find patchouli. I mean, the patchouli herb anywhere. Or it gets really expensive. So those are all things to consider there. So when we talk about our magical practices, if you can do those things and that works for you, great. But when you're out there espousing that it has to be done exactly this way or it won't work, or that only high-end fancy rituals work, well, you're kind of being lied to and you're also believing the bullshit. Um, does a tea light versus a 7-day candle, a lot of it's your intention and your magic and your energy and your power, the spirits you work with, your ancestors. Like, I want you to sit and think about this for a minute. You're honoring your ancestors. All you can afford is all you have on hand are three tea light candles. You light three tea light candles to your ancestors. Are your ancestors going to smite you and be like, oh, well, we're not going to answer your prayers or help you out with that because you only lit us three candles. You don't care at all. Really? Or the same thing with any spirits. Like, they're not going to be out here like, oh, please bring us a Rolls Royce. Um, I mean, the only time I had that happen was one of the time early on in my time working with Abaddon. He was like, it wasn't so much asking for something as I understand it now. It was like, he was like, I want 32 pairs of Louboutins. I'm like, I don't think I can afford that. They're very expensive. He's like, I forget how it was. It was like, but you will be able to afford that. So it was sort of like teaching. It was a teaching lesson for me. In that, what it's not that Abaddon's not going to work with me until I buy 32 pairs of Louboutin boots, shoes, because holy crap, that's easily going to be about $30,000. So anyhow, but the spirit's not going to be like, well, oh shit, you only burnt you know, a taper candle. So we're only going to give you a taper candle's worth of magical assistance in this. Like think of the logic of what you're really saying without saying it. Oh shit, man, she got the 12-day candle or the 14-day candle. Let's hook this bitch up. You know how stupid that sounds? We do a lot of this stuff for us, and it is all human ego driven. So, and this is sometimes why I make fun of ceremonial magic with the, high looking down their nose at everyone for I don't have the time. My ADHD, like, dude, not for nothing. It took me till like last year to be able to like remember the directions and the elements and the spirits that go with each. Um, Sorry, I'm chewing on a mint. I quit vaping, so yay for me. I'm almost a month vape free. But I run into this so much as a creator of people like, well, is this made according to tradition? And was this put on an altar for 40 days and 40 nights and blah, blah, blah? I'm like, I run a business. Like, my entire, and I've always, my entire life is magically activated and active at all times. So I don't know if it's been on basically my entire house is an altar. That's how I've approached it for the past at least 5 years. Um, So, no, it's not physically sitting on my altar because I don't have space for it. And sometimes, depending on what I'm doing on my altar, I mean, do you want me to put a whole bunch of love spell altars on my altar while I'm hexing the fuck out of people? Probably not. Do you want me to put a healing spell on the altar while I'm, again, cursing someone? Or do you want me to put while I'm cursing, while do you want me to put the curse oil on there while I'm doing love spells and healing? I mean, you think about how this works. I have a big product catalog, so everything is in a magically active environment. People get very stuck on these. It has to be done by the book or by this tradition, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but at the time of recording, it is 2025, not 205 or 1205 or 1505. It's 2025. Things are going to need to change and adapt because we don't live in the same time that our ancestors were, that all these big fancy grimoires were written and stuff like that. And a lot of times, the way I look at it, I mean, like, I use some of those things as a guide, but unless your magic is your own and you've really adapted it, I don't know. Maybe it's just me and my wacky autism. Your ancestors and the spirits you work with are more, if they're working with you to be help you in your life, to help you manifest the things you want, they're not going to have you working with, like, well, you have to do mullein offerings despite the fact you're allergic to it. Your ancestors and spirits don't want you to get sick and injure yourself in the process of venerating them or working with them on, in any context. So that one always blows my mind. And some of it, on a technical, I'm trying to learn not to autistically explain things because I think sometimes that annoys people, but we'll get to that. And also, I feel like I need to give the history of the world on everything I say. And I approach my entire life like I'm doing dissertation research. So yeah, the no substitutions thing for me, like, not everything makes an essential oil. So if you want, if this incense calls for strawberry or this deity is associated with strawberries, you're gonna, for an oil or an incense, I'm gonna have to use a fragrance oil symbolically. So, yeah. So let's moving on. I don't want to get into that too much because I do cover that in other videos. I'm gonna go through my catalog and link all those videos below, just so you can kind of see where I'm going at with this, with what I'm talking about. And I may kind of put all these into that accessibility magic playlist. Um, and there are some great books out there on, disability magic and things like that. Um, how to adapt your practices. It's easier for me, instead of setting up, places, for all the corner, for the directions. Like, here's my altar faces the east, but to have things, set up on either side. It's just easier for me to have it all in one place on on my working altar space. So symbolically, this is the candle for east, west, south, north, spirit, etc. I don't think any of the gods are angry at me for that. It's, I have to do my personal work. I have to modify it because of, if I sit on the floor too long, sometimes I'm laying down like, a teenage girl writing in her diary while I'm doing a ritual, because I have some floor pillows. And as you can see behind me, I am in no underabundance of pillows. In fact, I've been forbidden from buying more pillows by several people. So, anyways, I'm like, dude, I'm in pain a lot. I need pillows. Um, so little modifications like that help because I might only have a good 20 to 30 minutes to do a ritual before my body starts trying to crap out on me. So sometimes my rituals might be like 30 minutes a day over time, but or when I can get to them, sometimes I'll be like, I'll do the ritual, get everything charged and activate, and then, spend the rest of the week burning the candles and doing those things. So you can adapt and change things like that, and they're still going to work. So as far as try to think how to do this because I kind of put this in different order. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about creators, yeah, creators, authors, spiritualists, service providers, ritualists, all of that. Things to look out for. People who are using, the artard as a slur all the time. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I know a lot of people do. I'm not, I don't, it doesn't really bother me in the same way it might bother other people, but I get contextually why it bothers people. Um, you know, Never trust someone who says you don't have enough to offer the spirits. Never trust someone who is doing the spiritual bypassing, who's giving medical and mental health advice with no training in that. I at least have some marginal training in that because I used to work in a hospital back in the 90s. So when people are handing out medical advice or things like, oh yes, here, do the turpentine purge and stuff like that, and they're not your doctor and don't know your medical background, you can get really fucking sick. And they can get really fucking sued, and you have every right to sue them. Because following bullshit gurus you can end up in a dirt nap from that. I'll share again the story. This is from my Reiki teacher. It's someone that she was friends with. At a very, in her 20s, this person was diagnosed with a very, very, very early stage, very treatable form of cancer. I forget which one. She wanted to go the all natural route, followed some bullshit guru across the country, spent her life savings, and died at the age of 24 from something that was absolutely curable and treatable. So be careful of who you follow because that could be you if you're not careful. So I try to be as real as possible as a business owner, as a creator. Yes, I know I am creating witchy shit, metaphysical things, and self care and all of that. But I'm not telling you that if you use this emotional trauma crystal healing oil, you're going to be suddenly cured of your PTSD. I approach a lot of that stuff, and this is how I was taught. And sorry, I have to change my position because I'm cramping up sitting here. So I'm recording the video and sitting here and in pain because I sat in the same position too long. So I have to modify what I do. That's why sometimes my videos are all over the place. Sometimes I'm in my office. Sometimes if I'm doing something ritually, I'm at my altar. Sometimes I'm here. Sometimes, a few times I've been in bed or various places in the living room. So, but when we're talking about these creators, if they're telling you, if they're selling you, buy this supplement, do this thing, whatnot, in lieu of traditional practices. Sure, aromatherapy, herbalism, all of that are great complementary alternative medicine practices that are ancillary to getting treatment for serious things. I am not going to be able to find a combination of herbs and essential oils to make my autoimmune disease go away. I can use some things natural things to help with the pain, to help with different symptoms and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know that lavender essential oil is not going to cure my insomnia, or it's not going to, whatever. Pepper, some fancy balm with peppermint, wintergreen, and spearmint in it isn't going to do enough to take away my pain. Um, I'm always in pain. At some level, I have very, very few pain-free days, and they're like, holy crap. And then I do all the things because I'm like, wee, I'm pain-free, and then it's bad. So really, really vet and understand, listen to your creators, listen to what how they're saying and what they're saying. I am of that autistic neurospicy ilk where I'm not, I have very little ability to be insincere. So you're always going to get, and one of my biggest pet peeves is incorrect information. Um, because boy howdy, do people like to spread that shit like wildfire. And I'm sure I'm guilty of it too at times, but like I will course correct and I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that this person was a raging asshole that I just recommended their book for. Or I will just add that caveat to it, like, this is a book on so and so. I'm only recommending it because of XYZ. Please be aware that this is a bullshit organization. These people are trash, but there's some decent information in here because I'm never not honest about things. Um, So yeah, be wary of the creators and what to look out for. Um because they can some of them can, or creators, business owners, all of that, whatever it is, a lot of harm can come to it. Like that person who was like, oh, well, clearly, if the doctors can't figure out what's wrong with you, you're being kept cursed and hexed, and it's definitely spiritual. It's just like, that's so like mass hysteria. That's so satanic panicky. That's so everything I don't like or understand is demonic and satanic and evil and whatnot. It's trash. It's utter trash hot. It's an utter trash hot take. And that creator's watching, eat a bag of dicks. Um, Anywho, let me cut that out. But yeah. So now, what I want to talk about in the accessibility issues too, I think I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about that later, I think. So I've covered that. So, like, one of the things I want to talk about and give some personal things, because we have a lot of us neurospicy folks in the community. And sometimes where I run into issues, and it's honestly sometimes it's really hurtful when, and I have this with people I know, people I've known for years sometimes, and it's like if I express a need, like if I'm on autistic burnout, no, I can't stay here 5 more minutes. I need to leave now. I feel like my skin is being shredded off with a cheese grater, and I'm gonna pass out. And if you're expecting me to drive and get home safely, we need to leave now, or being pushed. Or when I explain something from my perspective as an autistic person, a late diagnosed autistic person, and the like I'm expressing a boundary, I'm expressing a need, and the other person turns it around on themselves and makes it all about them. And like I get guilt tripped into doing things or being a certain way. And what you know what ends up happening there? I just kind of stop engaging. I'm like, okay, this is a person, I can't talk to them about these things. I can't express my needs, I can't express boundaries. So when I can't express boundaries, and those are very important to me. Having gone through now through my coming out the other side of 15 years of healing, 30 years of trauma, my boundaries are sacrosanct, and if you start trying to breach them or steamroll over them, you are gone. And that's why, and I will say this, and this is applies to family, friends, people. That's why I have been so militant about being like, I've extracted every single Trump MAGA person from my life. I don't need you here. That's my boundary. I am not taking abuse. I'm not listening to the other side. I don't want the justifications. This is a boundary. I don't want you here. You are not a part of my life anymore and never will be again. Full stop. That is my boundary. And I will uphold that boundary. People do not like boundaries. Oh my God. People get really pissy about that. So, as an autistic person, I I'll talk about my neurospicy brain here. So I have a lot of different aspects for me of autism where I have a lot of like very high. I hate when there's a lot of, not using high functioning, low functioning, but it's sort of like in terms of ability, I have very high intellectual, my intellectual ceiling is very high. My basic ass mundane shit is very low. There's just things I don't know how to do. I don't know. I'm like, this might as well be written in an alien language. I don't understand this. I can't fill out a form to save my life. I will fuck it up like nobody's business. Um, Whether it's a paper form, whether it's an online form, a PDF form, I will fuck that up like nobody's business. There's some things conceptually I don't understand and I need extra explaining. So this is sometimes where I get the, well, you don't seem autistic or you don't seem disabled comes in because I'll agree. It's idiosyncratic and inconsistent. I could be talking very high-minded, but like something really low that like something common, everyone knows, some basic ass thing, and I'm like, huh? So it's hard navigating. And then when you throw in the sensory stuff on top of that, I have synesthesia. I process the world. It's not like I'm here tripping balls in that sense, but I process things in a very different way. So I was talking to someone about this online. I'm like, we're talking about smell sense, and like sometimes it just stays. I'm like, dude, I was pissed for like at least a week about the bag of hard-boiled eggs in my refrigerator that had this really smelly sulfuric liquid. Oh, I had thrown them out a week earlier, but I was still like, I'd be laying in bed. I'm like, I know they're there. I can smell them. I still smell them. Why do I still smell them? You know, my memories are fully involve fully sensorial experiences. I and it's beautiful. I love remembering what my grandmother's house smelled like, what Christmas dinner smelled like. I love that. There's some memories that come with smells that no one should have to endure. Let's just leave it at that. Because I used to work in a hospital, remember? Um, and you know what? I'll just say this part. Morgues smell like a fish market. Yep, smells like a fish market. Death smells like fish. Maybe that's why I always think New Jersey smells like death, like the shore smell. The New Jersey shore smell, to me, the way my brain translates it, is the death fish market smell. So I don't go to the beach for that reason. Like these are things I have legit things I have to deal with sometimes, or just there's I have textural issues. Me and the squash family have been beefing my whole entire life. But so as a synesthete, like I experience things on such a different level, and I also see things because I have that wacky pattern matching autism as well. So I will process things. I can look at something, maybe a really awesome project manager back in the day. But it's like I can look at something and just see like how everything connects through space and time and like all these like multiple references and stuff. But sometimes where I annoy the piss out of people is when they post shit without context. I'm gonna give an example because I don't know, I just stopped following the person. I was friends with them. I have no beef with them per se, but this really bothered me. And because of the implication, it was someone posted this. There was a I don't want to say a meme, but it was this quote going around. And basically in the quote, it was like this guy was saying he didn't understand why his girlfriend had friends because his mother never did. Well, clearly the only answer to this was abuse, 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 and nothing but abuse. His mother was being abused. He's abusing his girlfriend. Abuse, abuse, abuse. And I had to stop and I replied, I'm like, okay. So, hi, neurospicy, not an asshole. I love having a. Back in the day, in the early internet days, we used to call it idiot tagging for context. So, like, I have to idiot tag everything I say with autistic, not an asshole. And it still doesn't really do shit. And so I respond to this. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna give you some personal examples here. My brother just made a new friend, and I was like, oh, I heard you made a new friend, and now you have two. And he will always respond to that with, mo people, mo problems. He likes it that way. Is his wife abusing him because he only has two friends? No. Some people aren't like that. My maternal grandparents, I think they maybe were friendly with their neighbors. They didn't have friends. They had a strange relationship. I don't think they actually liked each other, but had to stay together. But again, so not everyone likes other people. I don't always like other people. I'll freely admit to that. I keep my circle very tight. But, or like my uncle. He's lived at home his entire life. He's never dated. He doesn't have friends, kind of in the hoarder hermit thing. Who's abusing him? It's like when you apply something like that, and then, my neurospicy ass comes in and is like, here, I'm going to give you something from my perspective. And then you basically roll up a newspaper and smack me on the nose like a dog who just shit on the carpet. Do you think I'm going to ever come back and talk to you again after that? And I haven't. I unfollowed that person. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I just don't interact with them because I'm not wanted here. My autistic ass is not welcome. It sucks. Especially when it sucks when it comes from other disabled people, because there is a lot of inherent ableism within disability communities. It's not a competition of where you are on the spectrum of disability. But it hurts more when it comes from people who should know better and don't. People who advocate and champion for disability or all the things that one would. And then you're like, you, you know me, you know I'm not coming in here to be some trolling asshole. I'm just giving you something based upon my knowledge base and lived experience. And then I got whacked on the nose like a dog with a newspaper. And do you think that makes me want to support that person, those people in any way? They're just people I know now. And look, and if you're someone that I'm friends with and watching this and going, oh, yeah, if I stopped interacting with you, it's probably for something like that. I probably tried to convey something, and you treated me like I'm like that's what I
Maybe
wanted to talk about. Like it is hard. Like I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 46, ADHD at 37. I'm 50 now. You know how we figured out I was autistic? Because it was during the pandemic. I didn't have to mask every day, all day, every day. And suddenly I couldn't even figure out how to navigate the world. And that had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was that I was so used to masking all the time. And you know what, with those people, I tried. Actually find it much easier to unmask with people who are newer that I've just met or things in that sense, or through the YouTube video. Like honestly, one of the things that's helped me the most in my communication skills is when I switched from using the reason I use the laptop instead of a video camera is because I can see my face and what expressions I'm making. Because a lot of times I'd be talking, people are like, why are you being such an asshole about this? I'm like, I'm agreeing with you. I love when I piss people off by agreeing with them. So I have to make sure my facial expressions match what I'm saying. Otherwise, people think I'm being an asshole. Um, so being a late diagnosed autist, I find the people that I have that struggle with it the most with me have probably known me the longest, which is weird. It's like, how did you not real? This has been pretty freaking obvious when you look back on it, but I've always been a little quirky, a little weird, a little echolalia. Um, you know, uh, I don't know how people didn't really notice it. Maybe because autism's a spectrum. I'm not nonverbal. I'm not, and there's so many ways it can manifest for people, whether it's high functioning, low functioning. We don't really use those terms anymore. And also, even as someone who probably would categorically be high functioning, I have very low functioning days sometimes. I was in the middle of doing stuff and I was like, you know what, I need to just go not be doing stuff for a while, so I'm just gonna make this video. I made this video because I really wanted to make this video too. And in order to finish doing what I was doing, I had to trick myself by making this video first, so then I could go finish doing what I was doing. Um, Fun times. So I wish this had a video, a counter on it for how long this is running. So it's been a struggle, like coming to terms with, oh, this explains everything. And then learning, sorry, I have to move again. So this is the great part of being like diagnosed autism is the taking into account that I thought I was completely normal and everyone thought and did things the way I do. As one time, this is a funny one. I love this. So because I was with a friend last summer and I was like, oh, this is one of my theme songs, and they're just looking at me and I'm like, everyone doesn't have theme songs for themselves and everyone they know. Oh, you really should. Having your own theme song, having theme songs for everyone you know. I was very sad to learn that people don't have theme songs for themselves because I thought that was a normal thing. Everyone did. So there's stuff like that. I've been trying to adjust this. I was diagnosed in, I think, March of 2022. So I was 46. I was almost 47 at the time. So it's taken me 3 years. And like, I'm like, oh, there it is. And being both autistic and ADHD and having the C-PTSD component that has the depression and anxiety crap attached to it, I have my quirks on things. Like I didn't always know that, it was the Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. You're in my spot. I have my spots wherever, like whether it's the particular lane of traffic I go in, whether it's I sit on this side of the sofa, not that side of the sofa. I very rarely sit on that side of the sofa. I don't know why. I always sit on if I'm in the back seat of a car, I sit in the side of the back seat of the car I sat when I was a child. I'm 50. So there's some of these things. And I love my wacky autistic brain and life, but it really kind of does hurt my heart when people I know don't get it. When people I know say things that are in such a negging kind of way, or 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 are dismissive or assume I'm being an asshole when I'm just adding some context or knowledge because incorrect information makes me itchy. And boy, I guess people really like incorrect information. I don't know. Like if someone corrected me on something, I'd be like, holy crap, thank you so much. That's what I do because I love me some correct information. If I have something wrong and someone corrects me on it, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I might be mildly embarrassed and mortified, but I'm still like, oh my God, thank you. And yeah, that's the thing that bothers me the most, though, is when people I know, it bothers me. I'm just going to say that. So, wrapping up here before I just ramble on and on and on because we know how my neurospicy brain works. Education is how we change because we can't just stick to the dogma of this is in the book and this is in the ritual and this is how it has to be done 100% of the time or it won't work. You can't make any substitutes, so if you're allergic to that, suck it up, buttercup. Fuck that. Start approaching your magic if you were as if you were disabled. How would you do this ritual if you were in a wheelchair? If you had partial, total vision, or hearing, or other sensory loss, how would you do this ritual then? If you had extreme vertigo, how are you going to do it? What if you are weak from cancer treatments? How are you going to do it? What if you have chronic pain and joint issues? How are you going to do it? What if you're an amputee? How are you going to do it? What if this ritual involving I have to, do a blood offering, which I'm just gonna put the little disclaimer here. We do blood offerings by using a diabetic lancet. Um, I wouldn't suggest doing that if you're a hemophiliac or you have a history of self-harm and cutting. I would not suggest doing blood magic unless you're okay with that. Um, so those are things to consider. So when we're looking at maybe some of the spiritual bypassing part of it is its own thing, but when we're talking about magical practices, when we're talking about spells and rituals and working with spirits and ancestors, those are the things you need to consider from the perspective of someone who is disabled. Because when you are acting like, oh, well, if you don't do this by the book, it's not going to work, or this ritual has to be done, and it's exactly, This is a 365-day ritual where you have to do a prayer every 4 hours on the hour or whatever. You're doing that more for yourself than anything else, but I digress. I don't know. So just consider the fact that disabled people exist. And I do a lot of disability advocacy online because, hi, I'm disabled, and I'm busy a lot of time trying to work, to afford being able to exist and have health care and stuff like that. You know how it goes. We're all in the struggle together. So I just get really tired all the time being like, hi, disabled people exist. Your bullshit is ableist and pro-eugenicist. Please educate yourself and do better. If someone calls you out on being ableist, don't double down on it and rub their nose in it, roll up the newspaper and slap them on the nose or dismiss them or make fun of them. Take it seriously, because when a disabled person is telling you that is fucking ableist, it's no different than someone saying, "Yo, that's racist. What that expression is racist." Or that thing you just did is deeply rooted in racism or anti-Semitism or transphobia or homophobia or any of the xenophobia, any of those things. Take it seriously when someone calls you in or calls you out on that. It might be embarrassing for you, but I'm I exist. Disabled people exist. And July is Disability Pride Month, and this is a particularly shitty one with the big bullshit bill that just passed our fucking fascist government that is going to strip millions of disabled people of their benefits because we live in a country and a government where they just want us to fucking die. Honestly, that's it. And when I see the ableism coming from people who should know better, because I don't give a crap about what maggots think. When it comes to people who should know better, you two are saying we really don't care if you die, and you're just being kind of like your drain on the system. Your needs are annoying. Your neurospicy brain's offensive. That's how it translates. It says, we don't want your kind here. We like you. We just don't really want to put up with you. And, it's a tough topic. I realize that. And I've had a lot to say, and I probably have a lot more to say. I may make some more other videos on this month since it's Disability Pride Month, but this is the video I wanted to make for today. And I probably glossed over 100 things I wish I would have put in here. I either say too much or not enough, and if I don't have all the context and someone points out I'm missing something, and then it's a whole thing. So take this for what it is. Do better by us, because anyone can become disabled at any time for any reason. You can get in a car accident tomorrow. You can be diagnosed with cancer. You can be in an accident at work, fall down the stairs. You can get something that, I have a lot of friends with long C-19. And I know a lot of them well, and I watch what they're going through, and a lot of them were perfectly fine and able-bodied before then, and now aren't. So, disabled lives matter too, because we're not just off in an island. We're in every culture, in every race, in every religion, in every sexual orientation, and in every gender identity. We disabled people are in all walks of life, no matter where you go. And someday, as you get older, you might become disabled too. I don't wish that upon anyone, but enjoy life while you can, because nothing is guaranteed. And don't make it harder for the rest of us who are already having a hard enough time. Every day's a struggle. Do better. That's all. Anyways, thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on social media. Sign up for our e-newsletter so you know what's going on because you know what I'm about to say. Algorithms suck, y'all. Love you. Bye.